time now for the business news with Kate Moody. Good evening, Kate.
Hi, Delana.
Now, diplomatic negotiations to try and salvage the Iran nuclear deal are currently underway in Brussels, but it seems the business community is also scrambling to protect its interests.
Absolutely, because European companies have really invested heavily in Iran since that deal was signed. France and Germany leading the way. Their exports to Tehran topped $5 billion last year alone. The French foreign and finance ministers have been meeting with business leaders in Paris this Tuesday, outlining their efforts to safeguard their interests. The deals at stake include Airbus's planned sale of 100 planes worth up to $20 billion, Total's plans to develop a gas and oil field in which it's already invested $1 billion, and the carmaker PSA, which sold nearly 500,000 cars in Iran last year, which was enough to boost its overall profits. Now, those firms are among those which are likely to seek waivers, which would allow them to keep doing business in Iran despite the new US sanctions. Economy and Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said he's also putting pressure on the European Union to take concrete steps, including the creation of a body to enforce the bloc's own economic and trade rules, similar to the American Office of Foreign Assets Control. He spoke to our reporters Charlie James and Jonathan Walsh.
We are waiting for the European Commission to take some very concrete steps in the coming days and in the coming weeks to ensure the European sovereignty in economic matters. The creation of a European OFAC. The United States have that body, which proved to be very efficient. So we think that it is time for the European Union to create its own OFAC, its own European OFAC, to protect the European economic interest.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration is pushing ahead with its own punitive measures against Tehran. The US Treasury has announced new sanctions against the head of Iran's central bank, accusing him of facilitating the transfer of millions of dollars to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Air France-KLM has appointed a new set of bosses to try and solve the beleaguered carrier's standoff with its employees. Former Government Minister Anne-Marie Couderc has been named interim chairperson, while the joint group's chief financial officer will lead a new management committee. The airline reported a net loss of €269 million for the first quarter, another reminder of the steep financial cost of the ongoing strikes. Luke Schrago has the details.
It's a new crew for Air France-KLM. The beleaguered French carriers named a triumvirate to run management operations, including Air France-KLM CFO turned CEO Frédéric Gagey, Air France CEO Franck Turner, and KLM counterpart Peter Elbers. They've got their work cut out.
Since the beginning of 2018, volatility in the markets, rising oil prices and Air France's social difficulties have all weighed heavily. The group's turnover has of course been impacted as a result of the strikes.
Those strikes will likely give new non-executive chairwoman Anne-Marie Couderc something to get her teeth into with her previous experience as both employment and labour minister in the 1990s. Since February, Air France has seen 15 days of rolling strikes over pay, which has wiped some €400 million off its profits. Previous CEO Jean-Marc Janaillac stepped down a week and a half ago after staff followed unions' lead in rejecting a 7% pay raise over 4 years. However, the new team may have its hands tied in terms of how far they can negotiate a new deal, with not just the board seeking to continue Janaillac strategy, but as the airline's biggest shareholder, the French government too.
Air France's situation is worrying. It had good results in 2017, but Air France is less competitive than other European airlines. Someone needs to take over who'll pursue this development strategy. Air France has its place in the world, but for that, it has to be more competitive.
It seems the question now is who will cave in first. Air France-KLM executives or already entrenched unions still holding out for a better deal.
Let's check in on the day's trading action now. It was a mixed, fairly muted close in Europe. The CAC 40 leading with gains of about 0.25%. Air France-KLM shares dipped 3.5% in Paris. The stock has slumped 27% since late February. Wall Street's trending down. The Nasdaq down just about 1% this hour. The Dow Jones and S&P 500 not far behind. The Dow's dropped about 250 points. Oil prices are mostly up. International Brent crept close to $80 a barrel earlier. That's its highest level since November 2014. Delana.
Thank you very much for that, Kate Moody, there with the day's business news.